It's the talk shows Find Your Own Voice, led from within. With me today, I have Carol Ann Cooper. How are you, Carol Ann?
Not too bad, thanks. Not too bad.
Awesome.
How about you?
I am very well, thank you.
Good.
Very, very well. And our topic today is how to master the art of constructive conflict, building stronger relationships. So join us today as we explore the transformative power of constructive conflict resolution in relationship. Our experts are going to share practical techniques for effectively navigating disagreements, turning conflicts into opportunities for growth and understanding. And hopefully our viewers will learn the power of communication, strategy, active listening skills, and ways to cultivate empathy, fostering healthier and more resilient connection with their spouse. Over to you, Carol, and I know you chose this topic. Can you please share with our audience what motivated you to actually choose this topic?
Well, it's part of, I've just been exploring, the main problems that people can have with relationships, and this was one that came up, and I looked at it and I thought, well, yeah, conflict is a great one to look at because there's always conflict of some form, but it's actually understanding, well, what is a conflict? Because some people seem to think, there's arguments and there's other things, but actually conflict itself, if you can understand the nature of it, that can help you to work with it as well. And there's ways of working with the conflict. You can make it constructive rather than destructive. And the problem is a lot of people create destruction because they don't know how to deal with the conflict. And all that a conflict is where two or more people actually have differences in their underlying needs. So, for example, one person might want space and the other person wants affection. And I can remember my ex-husband. He would always want attention, and I there's times when I was just wanting space just to read because I used to love reading. So I'd be able to go into myself, go into the book and, and just lose myself. And he'd be constantly wanting my attention. I used to go, oh no, leave me alone, And it's being able to deal with that without it becoming a bone of contention or creating, what's the word I'm looking for? It becomes more than just a conflict. And I know I didn't really know how to deal with it effectively then. And I used to start resenting it because I didn't really know how to deal with it. And he started getting the ump about it because he took it personally that I didn't want to be with him, And so it's being able to understand what is the conflict and the nature of it so that you can then work with it. Because it wasn't just a case that I didn't want to be with him. I enjoyed time reading. I enjoyed losing myself in a book, and over time he did find a joy in reading. He found certain authors and books that he enjoyed, and he was able to then get into books and read, which was really nice. But that took quite a few years before that actually happened. And so, yeah, you need to understand the nature of the conflict. So I thought it'd be a great topic to explore, what are what some of the conflicts that can happen, and then how can you deal with them? What are different strategies for it? So I like what Albert Einstein says. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. And I thought, what a great phrase there. How often do we try and get peace through force you know, you're going to do this, you do this. And yet there's no understanding going on. So how can you achieve peace if you don't really understand what's going on? Yeah. So force would actually create more and more tension. So what were your thoughts when you saw the topic?
I think someone, do you want to talk, Carol? And someone is making noise outside with the car.
Oh, okay.
1 second.
And that's what conflict is. It's a lot of noise. At the end of the day, it's something that's happening that doesn't work with where you're at the moment. There's no peace. It's creating unrest, discomfort. And I think that's the main word, is discomfort. You're not comfortable with what's happening. And this is what conflict is. There's a discomfort happening. So understand the nature of the discomfort. Go and deal with it. So have we dealt with it, Nomsa? Can you? Because I couldn't hear anything when you said
I think they've stopped the engine. It was really loud. Now it's not loud.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really loud. I like the topic conflict. It's very, very important to actually have the strategy that is needed to navigate the conflict in a way that not only resolve a dispute, but also enriches the connection with others as well. It's easy to, like what you were saying, that your spouse wanted something to do something else, and you wanted to do something else, and that can cause a conflict. If you are busy or you want to do something and the other person wants to do something, that's why you have to come up with a strategy, and the other person has to understand what is actually going on. And I also give the other person a space as well. Is very, very important to actually give each other space, maybe create some routine, or so that everyone knows who is doing what, who is doing what. Like myself, like before I do something in the house, I always ask if anybody has any plans for the family, or anybody is doing something, before I can actually focus on my plans. And if there is somebody, or there is a movie that somebody has a movie in mind, they will say, oh, we're watching a movie. So then I just go ahead and join in. But if there's nothing going on, I just go and do my thing. So it's very, very important. And also, whether you're facing challenges or in a relationship, you have to improving communication skills is very, very, very important. And when you learn to communicate with somebody, is create a more harmonious work environment, so you know where you stand. And there are some people that they're not good at communication, and they'll want somebody to actually guess what they're thinking, or what they want to do. And if you don't do what they expect you to do, they like I was explaining to my daughter yesterday, that you can't just go and not talk to somebody. She's 8 years old. She's just, if you don't take attention when she's speaking to you, she does not like to be ignored. So I said to her, you're just gonna have to wait. When somebody is doing something, just wait. And then in your time, attention, I give you attention. And she goes, but you say 1 second. Sometimes I say 1 second. She goes, 1 second is over now.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't say 1 second or 1 minute, because she just counts time and she goes, 1 minute is over. But you just said 1 second. When you spoke, 1 second was over there. So it's just so annoying. So it's very, very important to have this strategy where And also forgiveness is very, very important when it comes to conflict. Forgiveness is the power, is very, very powerful, because when we do things like partners, we might agree to disagree. So when we agree to disagree, that's when you have to learn to actually forgive, so you can build a stronger relationship. And also not taking life too serious. Sometimes you see people, they take life too serious. And I was reading, I think, a book where assumptions as well, people assume. Assumptions can destroy a relationship as well, where people assume so many things. I was telling you the event that happened on Saturday. So after that event, one of the girls calls me. And when she calls me now, she's calling me about what happened. But then there was some gossip in it. She wanted to, now she's investigating my friend's story. So I said, listen, I'm not going to speak on my friend's behalf. But what I can tell you is my friend is this, she's amazing, she's this. I said to her, I'm going to speak what I think of her as a person. So if you are investigating something, you might as well go and ask her, because I'm not going to speak and say any negative things about people. I don't want to be part of that. So then I realized that, the conflict. Sometimes when you are dealing with a relationship, don't speak to your family. I always say, if you speak to your family, make sure you pick a family member that is not going to take sides. Because you have to understand your family are the people that they watch you grow, they protect you, they love you very much. So whenever there is something that you don't understand in a relationship with your spouse, and to avoid a conflict, speak to your friends and a coach. If you speak to a member of the family, it has to be somebody that is not going to say, you don't deserve this, he does not have to treat you like that. So just I don't speak to my family with whenever I have a problem is in relationship, I don't speak to my family. I speak to my coach, I speak to friends, and mostly I speak to God. The problems that I have, I don't know. I think I've come to terms where I've got rid of expectations. With the character that we have, we expect people to be this character. So I think I accept people for who they are. That's why I don't have so much conflict with people, or even in relationship. I just accept people for who they are. And mostly I pray for my relationship. I don't have many conflict. I pray for my relationship, and God shows me anything that is standing in the way before it happens. So I pray for my spouse, I pray for my children, and I fast for them. So I avoid the conflict. So it's very, very important. If you are a Christian, have a prayer life for your relationship, have a communication life for your relationship, and understand as a woman what do you stand for. Women have power. We are intelligent. When we enter a relationship, we don't enter a relationship to argue. We are helpers. I don't know about you, Kero Ann. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't enter a relationship to argue, and actually a conflict isn't an argument as such. It's just some different underlying needs that are happening. An argument is something different. That's where everything then escalates into an argument. Whereas if you can actually identify what the conflict is in the beginning, and then understand what the building blocks of constructive conflict resolution are, and something you said, it's a strategy to navigate it. So it's understanding and having in place that strategy. So what are the building blocks to creating that strategy. And one is just learning about active listening. And who is it? Winston Churchill. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. So it's about listening and actively listening. You're not listening such that, you know, in your head, you're forming what you're going to say next. You're listening to the words. You're listening to what is being said, and you're also listening for what isn't being said. And there's nothing that's really going on in your head. There's no formation of an answer, because what you find is an answer just naturally arises within the listening. And then there's maybe some questioning that comes out of it. So you can deepen in your understanding. It's about, and you know, understanding what the other person is communicating. And also being able to communicate yourself what's happening. So you actually use I statements rather than the blame and you're doing this to me, or, you know, it's all your fault. It's I'm feeling this, or I'm experiencing this, or this is what I would like to do. So it's actually being able to understand and be able to use the I statements effectively, because that can also help for the conflict to sort of have that dance and open up, so that it doesn't become a fight and an argument. And then there's acknowledging what the other person is saying. What is their needs? It's about acknowledging their needs and your needs. And then saying, right, okay, so how can we resolve this and find a way of resolving it? And again, it's, yeah, as you were saying, Nomsa, it's not about going and seeking people that are not impartial. Family, even sometimes friends, might not be impartial. So it's finding people that don't have a vested interest in what you're saying, but can support you in actually finding a way through the conflict and resolving it. And this is where actually seeking professional help goes a long way, because they can ask questions that will help you to gain a perspective that actually at the end of the day, you're both wanting the same thing. And there's a technique that we learned in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And it's a long time since it suddenly comes back to my mind. It's like, oh, wow. And I remember when we learned it and we were practicing it in the training, where we would sit with somebody who had a conflict. And there's a special way of questioning such that each person really understands the nature of what they're wanting, which is different to the other person. But in the questioning, it's very cleverly done. You reach a point where actually you go, well, actually you want the same thing. And it's like, oh yeah. And all of a sudden it just dissipates. And you find yourself either doing what it was you didn't want to do in the beginning. Because I remember one of the things I didn't want to do was go outside on the veranda, because it was so hot out there. I didn't want to work out there. But what we did, we had ended up with a compromise. I did one session out there because someone wanted to go outside, and we did one inside. So we found a way of compromising that, helped each other. But we came to that point of understanding what our needs were, why one didn't want to go outside and why one didn't want to stay inside, And by getting that understanding, you can then move forward in a way that actually has you working together. And it was beautiful. It was such a beautiful process. I'd completely forgotten about it until now. And it's not about manipulating anybody at all. It's about helping each other to come to a realization that actually underneath it all, they actually want the same thing. It's just incredible, really incredible. So being able to reach out and ask, for support with that would be a great tool and a great resource to do. But again, it's acknowledge each other's emotions. And it's that, how are you feeling? And it's that I'm feeling this, rather than you saying, you're making me feel angry, you're making me feel sad. No, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. And it's like, okay, so what's the nature of the sadness? Whereabouts do you feel it? Explore it and really listen to each other so you can understand that. So that is important. And that really, yes, you find, if you want to speak with somebody, you find someone who's impartial, who can actually listen and won't be pushing you one way or the other. And yeah, you said about communication skills. They're so key here. It's so key, communication skills. And that is something for people to really hone and work on their communication skills. Where are you miscommunicating? What it is you're attempting to say, and really get an idea of that. Because I remember listening to my mum and dad one time, and it's after I'd done a lot of this training, and I was able to listen to things differently and hear what people were saying, which I couldn't before. And I was listening to my mum and dad, and they got to a point where it seemed like they were arguing. And I really listened to them, and I went, hang on a second, you're both saying the same thing, but with different words. And they went, oh. And all of a sudden it just dissipated. So really being able to understand, listen to how the other person's speaking. What is their modality of talking? Are they visual, auditory, or kinesthetic? How are they saying something? And by really being able to listen to my parents in this way, it helped me to understand the confusion I grew up with. Because, with both of them saying the same thing, but with different ways of saying it, I realized I was quite confused. And so I was able to then release that confusion and let go of that and work with that. So yeah, communication, understanding what someone's saying, listen to their words, and certainly not blaming them in any way. But I like what you said, actually, Nomsa, create a routine and know each other's plans. That's a great idea, because if sometimes that can fall down, you make assumptions, what someone's doing. That's a great idea, and that can cause conflict, because he's like, okay, I thought I knew what you were doing. Well, no, it's not been communicated. So I do love that, communicate and understand what each other's plans are would be a great way to move forward. So yeah, so understand what are the building blocks of constructive conflict resolution. Had to get my brain around it so my tongue could get around it. All of a sudden my brain just goes, and my tongue can't do it.
Yeah, I like it when you talk about building blocks, because anything that can actually hinder your relationship, you have to be aware of it. And I think that is very, very important, what you're saying, Carol Ann, because in the realm of conflict resolution, self-awareness is a cornerstone for effective communication, and that can enhance a relationship to go to the next level. And when you actually when you are able to identify your building blocks, then you'll be able to actually create a strategy that works for both of you, because these are two people that have merged together, and sometimes some people have kids, so you have to make sure that everybody knows what everybody is doing. My daughter, she's very, very good. My 8-year-old daughter, Carol Ann, she make plans. She wants to know what everybody is doing, and the plans go around. She'll ask everyone, what are we doing? And then she'll make plans for everybody. If we're not doing this, okay, we're doing this. So she's not afraid to do that. So which is good. But relationship is a journey. Once you understand that relationship is a journey, you can master it. And also, please don't take life too serious. My goodness, people they live, they create goals. And instead of living in the moment, they go and live in that 5-year goals. It's no longer funny anymore. It's nice to have fun sometimes. Really, really nice to actually be in this space where you live fun moment. So it's nice to actually understand how to master the art of constructive building a stronger relationship, because it is very, very important. When there's conflict all the time, relationship can be easily disconnected if couples don't know how to deal with that conflict. So it's important to understand each other's want and desires and values as well, and take them very, very serious. And once you respect each other's values, that means you take them serious, and you'll be able to actually, whenever there is a conflict, you'll be able to resolve it very, very quickly and forgive and forget. Love is a very, very powerful thing. It's the umbrella of everything. If you learn to love unconditional, without, oh, you did this last year, you did this the other time, just focus on, if there is a conflict that moment, focus on that conflict in the present moment. Like Carol Ann is saying, you don't blame. We tend to blame ourselves. Sometimes you find a woman, she's blaming herself that she's the reason why her spouse is behaving the way they are behaving. You don't need to blame yourself. Conflict will happen in relationship. A relationship that has no conflict is not a relationship. I don't have too many of them, because I spend my time, I pray and I fast. Like right now, we are fasting for 70 days. So that means, can you imagine that I'm going to every foundation in my relationship, every tree? When I pray, I'm like, God, go to this foundation, go to that, go to that. So that means in my relationship, I just want a good foundation in my relationship, even with my children. So you have to find that strategy. And when you find the strategy or your beliefs, values, and live by them in a relationship. And if you believe in love, there are some people that they say love doesn't exist. So when they live in a relationship, it becomes just a relationship. And or sometimes people live separate lives. And so you just have to know how to actually deal with those conflict emotionally, stay connected to the relationship. It's very, very important. If you disconnect in that relationship, the relationship is not going to work. Build emotional intelligence is very, very important. It is needed in a relationship. You'll be able to recognize the triggers. So once you recognize the triggers, that anything that triggers a relationship, you then attune to your emotions and understand where they originate. And once you do that, you can then implant them in a healthy way, practice mindfulness and self-reflection as well in that relationship. Who are you becoming in that relationship? Tony Robbins spoke about all these things that is very, very important to reflect. Who are you becoming in the relationship, and how it can help you to have a deeper understanding of your emotional patterns. And also, when you cultivate emotional intelligence, you can actually respond to, or you can respond with empathy whenever there is a conflict and compassion. So you foster, and when you foster the environment where disagreement can be addressed in a constructive way, instead of fighting, or sometimes make sure you avoid anger. I know sometimes anger is there. That's why it's very, very important to meditate. Meditate and meditate and meditate. Journal, have your journal, buy a pen, your diary, write down the things, your feelings every single day, how you feel. Or sometimes there might be things that you want to communicate with your spouse, and write them down so that you understand what do you want to communicate. How does it make you feel when you communicate with them? And then go and communicate with them. And also, the other thing that helps me a lot is to understand that my spouse is my best friend. He's not my enemy. That is very, very important. You'll be able to solve a conflict really, really easy. If you know the day, the reason why you're together, why you got connected to each other, to me, it was love. It was the man that I chose to spend my time with. So whenever there is a conflict, I have to remember I'm talking to my best friend. If he goes AWA, I'm going A together. I don't follow him. He goes AWA, I'm here. I stay in the moment, in the present moment. And then he comes back.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things, is the power of living in the present moment is just amazing. The power of fasting is amazing. I'm not sure the people that meditate, I think the meditation and the fasting is similar things. There are some people who really spend time connecting with their body, soul, and spirit. I was talking about it yesterday. When you spend time connecting to your body and your spirit, you cannot go wrong. Honestly, you can't, because it means the feelings are different. Like when somebody upsets you, it means you don't have that time to follow them. You have this compassion. You want to love them. You want to know what makes them become this person that they are becoming. I'm not sure about you, Kiro, and how you deal with the everyday stress, because the stress is there. So you have to have some techniques and for self-exploration, and that can help you to deal with these conflicts. And also asking feedback from trusted individual. Find somebody that you trust that can actually give you feedback. I think it does help a lot. Meditation. In the word of God or in the word of the name of the universe, just choose how you want to meditate. I fast. I meditate in music. I meditate in scriptures. It means my spirit is more alert of what is going on in this world. So I don't have time to have conflict with my spouse, but he will have conflict with me. I just have to understand that it's natural, and he's my best friend. And that's how it helps me to deal with everything. But in some people, when they're in a relationship, their spouse becomes their enemies, honestly. But just remember what brought you together. Once you remember what made you guys be together, whether you have children, sometimes the parents, what they do as well, which is I've learned that from Paul McKenna as well. I wouldn't have become the person that I am today. The parents, they have dreams for their children. They end up booking their children activities 7 days a week. They haven't got time for themselves. They haven't got time for their relationship. So make sure we love our children, and then we leave the gap. We leave some time for ourselves. Because remember, when they move out, if you ignore your spouse, when they move out, you have no spouse.
No, that's right. Or you have a stranger.
Yes.
And that's what happens because you're so focused on, the family and certainly not your partner, that whenever the children have gone, it's like, who is this person that I'm with?
Yeah.
So really, actually, conflict is a great opportunity for growth and for learning about each other and doing personal development together. There was something you said, what jumps out at me right now. You said, make time for the relationship. And I think that's key. It's like, what is it that drew you together in the first place? Is it still the same thing? Is that going to hold you together moving forward? Because sometimes it's not. What drew you together isn't the thing that's going to keep you moving forward, because things change. As you grow up and get older, you have more different experiences. Then the nature of the relationship changes. The nature of what you want and your needs change. So what is it that's going to hold you together? Do you still want to be together? And so it's actually being able to work together on the relationship, make time for it, and reframe the conflicts, change them into a positive framing, and use them as stepping stones towards something that's maybe a deeper emotional intimacy or even stronger bond, because that's what it is. It can be, as we said, it can either take you apart or can bring you together even closer. And it's important that you talk, you share what's going on, and you learn this, have this time to get to know yourself. Because if you don't know yourself, how can you let your partner know what is really going on with you? And then it's being able to share that such that they understand and you can work together. And so being able to do that personal development together, work it, or even having a little bit of time where you do separate bits of personal development, you're finding out about yourselves. What are your needs now? And then come together and talk about it. And if there's a conflict there, it's not the same as it was. That's where you reframe things, you talk about it, and you find a way of resolving it so that you can move forward together. And you create a direction that you go in together rather than you're at odds with each other. But as you say, conflict will arise. And I'm intrigued where you say you don't have conflict with your partner, but he has conflict with you. Well, there's conflict there then, isn't there? There's conflict because there's something there's a difference of need happening.
It's mostly when we want him to do something and then we are disturbing him and then he goes mad.
So it's not the opportunity.
I think it's as sometimes we wind him up deliberately because we want attention. But what I like about the relationship is having this agreement that if you want something, talk to the other person. It's like if he's watching something, or if I want to do something, and then we want his attention, we want him to stop what is playing the game to come and watch the movie with us, we let him know that we need your attention. If we don't need him, we leave him alone. So, and he knows as well that he can play his games, and then he can give us attention as well. So he knows that. So, but normally it's the complete flicks where we wind him up and then he goes AWA.
Then it is having that humor in there, that bit of fun. And
Yeah,
if he can see the funny side that, okay, he's being wound up,
yeah,
you and your children will need a few, wooden spoons. You got wooden spoons going there, stirring away.
yeah, yeah,
And it's okay if you can laugh it through, and then, if it's still not working for him, I say, okay, you could, there's, it's recognizing when to apologize.
yeah,
And it's not about saying, I'm sorry. It's an apology. I apologize for not realizing that actually it was important you had this time to yourself right now, and I disturbed you. Do you see that? That's completely, it opens up to the understanding that something wasn't working. And that's what you're apologizing for. It's not just a case of, oh, I'm sorry. That doesn't say anything. And you actually have nothing to be sorry for. But giving an apology is a completely different process. And you can then, that's how you bring things together and can resolve a conflict. So being able to apologize, know when to apologize and how to effectively apologize, again, is a great skill to have. Because as I said, it just changes the whole dynamics of what's going on. And the other person is left feeling understood. That's the important thing. You say, well, I just fancied a bit of humor here at the right now, and I apologize for not realizing it wasn't quite the right moment. That's what, just something that helps to open it up and move forward, and acknowledges where they're at. And it may be that they do get it and it's fine, but it's recognizing when in that moment it wasn't appropriate because for them something else was going on, and so it's again, it comes down to communication, understanding the other person, understanding where you're coming from and yourself, being able to communicate it. So Mahatma Gandhi says, peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it. So if there is conflict, don't make it wrong.
no,
It's there's bound to be some form of conflict in some way. Know how to deal with it and cope with it so that you can move forward in a healthy way, such that your relationship actually gets stronger. It's a really great bond that gets deeper, and actually there's more, an intimacy comes out, a deeper intimacy that comes out, and it's that love deepens because you feel heard, you feel understood, you feel like someone actually has your back.
yeah,
And that you can feel it in your heart. There's that love. It's just, and that is the intimacy when you've got heart-to-heart connection. Because as you were saying, conflict can lead to disconnect. Are you going to disconnect, or are you going to connect, create stronger connections? So use it as a opportunity for growth, for your own personal development, but also for your relationships development as well. It's about turning those gridlocks into opportunity and possibility. It just helps you see a different perspective. And when you can see a different perspective, everything opens up. It really is quite magical. Yeah. So yeah, you said don't take it too seriously. That's where the humor comes in. Bring
Yes.
humor in. Definitely. When you can, it just lightens everything. It seems to dissipate it all, so somehow bring some humor in, but not at the expense of the other person. It's a way of bringing in humor that everybody can just laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, see the funny side of it, or laugh, move on. It really has a discharges everything,
And also minding your own business as well in the relationship, not minding other people's conflict it does help as well. I'm very good at minding my own business when it comes to other people's relationship. So
yeah,
it's very, very important, because otherwise you start comparing your relationship with other people. So just never compare your life with anybody. Know that whatever you face in a relationship is meant for you. It's a challenge that brings growth. So don't compare your spouse with other people and start saying, my friend, the spouse, they do this, you don't do this. No, just let them be. It's a blessing to have somebody that wants to spend their lives with you is a blessing.
yeah.
So accept that blessing. And when you are faced with challenges, face them gracefully. And I think that's very, very, very important. Not to actually just not to take life too serious, and not to live in fear as well. There are some people, they're in a relationship, they live in fear because they fear that they're not enough, they're not this. Just find the happiness within. You never stop working on yourself. Just because you are in a relationship, it doesn't mean that you have to stop doing your own things. It doesn't mean that you have to stop finding that personal growth within, discovering who you are as a person. Just keep doing personal development, and you can do some of your interest. Like Martin was meant to go to skydiving on last Saturday, so he didn't go. But if we go with him, he just goes skydiving, and he goes away with the guys, and they go skydiving, which I find it really crazy for somebody to go in the plane and jump and do the jump. I like it's crazy, but he loves it. So all those things, just accept people for who they are. Don't try to change them when it comes to relationship. For me, I find it when you are happy within. I went to my friend's wedding on Friday, I was dancing, and I go to my own world when I'm dancing. And this girl, she was like, "Nomsa, you are completely, when you're talking, when you start going dancing, it's like you're a completely different person." I'm like, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
So then I said to her, I looked at her, I said, "Why are you holding back?" I said, "Don't hold back. Just be you." And she looked at me, and then I looked at her. She went outside, and then she comes back. When she comes back, she's completely a different person on stage. And I was like, you see, you're enjoying, you've got the dance move. Why are you holding back? So I was like, you just have to have fun. In relationship is like that. Just because we are in a relationship with somebody, we create goals. It doesn't mean we have to go and live in 5 years' time. We can still live in the moment.
Absolutely.
But planning goals, goals for our children, goals for our lives, but make sure you live in the present moment. Because what happens is the couples, they plan goals for 5 years, they go and live in 5 years. They live in frustration, stress, and then by the time and then they don't make it to that 5 years goals, and then the relationship falls apart.
Yeah. And that leaves you with a really unsettled feeling inside. It's like you've made plans and this is what we were going to do and it's not happening. And I remember when my ex-husband and I parted company and we eventually got divorced, but we'd planned the future, way ahead. And it was like, oh, none of that's going to happen now. And it was really disappointing and really, it weighed quite a bit on me for a long while. And to sort of be able to get over that took quite a bit. So certainly, plan for the future, but don't hold on to it as, this is going to happen, because you've got no idea what's going to happen. So be in, as you're saying, Nom, so be in the moment, be in the now, set your goals, work towards them, and whatever comes up in the moment, again, work, use that as opportunities to learn, to grow. And it is about cultivating a lasting conflict resolution set of skills. Because as we've said, conflicts will always arise. They may get less and less because the more you start to understand each other, and the intensity of them might not be as strong. But it's being able to constantly cultivate that lasting the skill of conflict resolution. Because, making that assumption, as you were saying earlier, Nom, so don't make assumptions. Don't assume because you sorted out and you managed to resolve quite a few conflicts that's it. That is the red flag if you start making those assumptions, because you'll find that there'll be a big conflict comes that you have no idea how to deal with. It'll hit you. So constantly, develop those skills of being able to resolve conflicts. And I don't know how many people fly kites. I used to fly kites and I still love it. And there's a Hamilton Wright Moby says, don't be afraid of opposition. Remember, a kite rises against, not with, the wind. So use that conflict to help both to rise with that opposition. It's a way of growing together. So just aware of time, we've got time to sort of give some last points or where we're at. What are you thinking, Nomsa?
Yeah.
Oh, I just what you said about don't compare.
Yeah, don't compare. Don't compare relationship.
We
Yeah.
said that so many times. Don't compare.
Yeah, people compare their relationship to people. Yeah. It destroys the relationship.
Yeah, totally.
Because when you compare your life with somebody else, it's like it doesn't become a relationship anymore, because it means you expect your spouse to actually behave like somebody else. So don't compare with that.
See that word expectations, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the red flag. Listen to that word. You've got expectations. Like, ooh.
Yeah. And don't compare yourself with other people too either, because once you practice that comparison, I stopped comparing my life in 2006. Yeah, I started using Paul McKenna's program. I think that was 2007 or 8. Then I realized I just need to live my life. Yeah. Accept my life for what it is, and ask for my own blessings. And can you imagine you have your own destiny, and then you look at somebody, you think their life is better than yours. And that's offending God. So we don't want to offend God. We just want to be grateful for what we have, and the amazing relationship that you enter. You have to still have the gratitude for it. And once you have the gratitude for your relationship, it will grow and grow and grow. And if you have a conflict, there are conflict that can be resolved, but there are some conflict that gets out of control. So you have to go to the foundation of the relationship. If you see that maybe the other person, they are changing, sometimes we meet people and we want them to stay the same, but people grow and they change. So we have to understand and maybe ask what they do different. Like myself, I'm into personal development like crazy. But I teach my children, if you come to the house, we all speak the same language. And even when I'm telling my oldest one off, she goes, Mommy, do not use the psychology on me. Just talk to me normal. So, but then she knows, children and your family, they know your character. And that character that you become, they'll respect it. And God will use that character to actually change other people around you. So those are the things that we need to be grateful of and never go around comparing our lives with the other people. Like Carol earlier, you said it before, and also understanding the role of empathy and the validation of emotions as well is a powerful form of empathy. When someone expresses their feelings, acknowledge their feelings without judgment. We live in a very judgmental world, so never judge. When your spouse are talking to you, take time to listen. Like Carol, you mentioned this before, listen without judgment. Listen to them, where they are coming from, how can you change? Me, I have obligations in my house where if they go out, this family, they find something nice, they eat without me, they can't bring it at home. Apparently, if you're not there, you lose it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I have obligation on that. But my beautiful daughter, she always comes home with something. She goes, Mommy, I'll go eat something.
Oh,
But the rest, when they go out, they see something, they eat. So I've learned not to argue with them. I just come to terms with accepting, okay, that's how you guys are, that's fine. But for me, if I see something, I bring something for them. But they say, okay, if they go out, they will just buy, or they're buying takeaway, they'll buy it. But if they're in the house, and they get takeaway, they know what I want, then they'll get it for me as well. But if they are out to kettle animals, I get nothing. Yeah, if I'm not there, I get nothing.
So not even if you message them and say, can you get me this, please?
Oh, no.
No, that don't work.
Even
either.
if I call them, they're like, but you're not here. They're not going to bring it. No. So I come to terms with that, although I have obligations. So I come to terms with it. So if you are somebody that gets treated like me, come to terms with it and don't get upset. Life is a journey. We just have to enjoy it while we are on earth. The relationships are not easy as well either. So once you understand it, that's why where you have to come to like me, be like me, and fast and be covered by the fire of the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit. So you don't really get upset with anything. I just surrender my life to God, and everything else I just hand over my life, because I know life, it can be very, very stressful. It can be very, very challenging. So I surrender my life and say, God, take control, whatever is going on. So that's why I'm saying in a relationship, you have to have principles, values, and just live by your values and your beliefs. Don't try to be something that you're not. So just keep life very simple as well. I like my life very simple. I don't complicate things. Honestly, I like to keep things very, very simple.
Good, cool.
And in the house, they know that I keep my life very simple. I'm at work, I'm in charge at work, but when I get home, everybody's in charge. I expect them to help out, to do something, although it's never happened with these kids. Everybody gets given to do something, they don't do it. So I don't actually get stressed doing things for them. If I want to do it or do things or clean the house, because sometimes some people, they just don't like asking. So you have to humble yourself and ask for help if you need help, if it's needed.
Mhm.
There are times where sometimes I just don't like the food that I've cooked. So I ask somebody, anyone if is cooking today, then it becomes a battle. And then somebody will volunteer to cook, and that's fine. So just don't be afraid to ask for help. Keep it fun, keep it simple, no comparing, and use your beliefs, whether you believe on the earth or the universe. And don't forget to go and get your happiness within is within the universe. Don't forget to keep grabbing it. Any words of encouragement, Carol Ann? It's 10 minutes past
Um,
2.
yeah, I embrace conflict. Don't push it away, embrace it, and just welcome it and go, okay, how can I use this? How can I work with this? And Marshall B. Rosenberg says, to practice the process of conflict resolution, we must completely abandon the goal of getting people to do what we want. And I read that earlier when I wrote it down, and it's like, okay, yeah, I agree with that. I read it again. It stood out to me just now to say, oh, I need to share this to round up. And it's helped me to realize that I am attempting to get someone to do what I want. I haven't fully let go and honored their journey. It's their journey. There's still an element of me going, no, but they've got to do this instead. I want them to do this. I caught it. So there's a conflict. So recognize where you're creating a conflict and you can do something about it. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, have fun with it. And yeah, don't take it too seriously.
No.
No, you can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and I have a Facebook group called Get Your Book Written, where I help people to unlock that writer within, to resolve those conflicts within you that has you not be able to write in the way that you really want to write, or get that story out that's there to be written. So that's how I help people, or what I, how I work with people. So yeah, that's me. Do you want to, what would you like to round up with?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol Ann. For me, I leave you with this. Find the common ground when it comes to conflict and relationship. When you find the common ground, it will help you to actually focus on shared values, goals that both parties can agree on. And also the role of reversal, empathy journaling, empathy cycles. Do all those things. Never compare your life with anybody else. Have communication strategy in your relationship, and know that your relationship is unique. And if there's anything that you feel that, you know what, I feel that my relation, normally when your relationship is not working, it's not the actual relationship, it's the people that are in it that you need to search within. And when you search within, then you'll be able to build a good relationship. So that's when the Gossip Talk Show comes in. We can help you find your own voice, your voice for your relationship, where you can speak with grace, where you can speak knowing as a woman who you're meant to be in a relationship, as a man who you're meant to be in a relationship. So if you are looking to change your life, and find your own voice. Get in touch with us at Ngozi Talk Shows, and we'll be able to help you. You can connect with us on our social media. We have a Facebook page. We have Ngozi Talk Show group and Unique Billionaire Mindset, or you can just message me private and say what we can do. If you want us to help you, there's coaches that different from different background. So you will get, there are some who are Christian and not non-Christian. So if you are non-Christian and you want to work with somebody who is a non-Christian, there's options for you. If you want to work with somebody who is a Christian, there's those options for you. If you want to work with somebody else, those are options for you. You know the coaches, kind of coaches that you would like to work with. You can go on YouTube, just watch the videos and see what the coaches, what we do, and then choose the coach that you resonate with. And mostly for me, I like people that make a decision and just get on with it. If I have to coach you, I just need that reassurance that you are willing to do the work. Because for me to be where I am today, it requires work. It required work. So I had to work for myself. I had to work to become the person that I am today. So, and to Ngozi Talk Shows, we are here Monday to Friday UK time. Live with grace, everyone, and God bless.